You know what society does to people who choose solitude over constant connection? There's a specific kind of punishment reserved for those who refuse to perform availability, and it's designed to look like care. Watch what happens when someone consistently declines social invitations. The first few times, people accept it. By the fifth or sixth decline, the concern trolling begins. A woman stops posting on social media for 3 months. Her inbox fills with worried messages. "Are you okay? We haven't seen you in forever. Is everything all right?" Not because they miss her presence, because her absence makes them uncomfortable. In workplaces, the person who eats lunch alone gets pulled aside by HR. "We've noticed you're not participating in team activities. Is there something we should know about?" The implication clear: your solitude is suspicious. Family gatherings become interrogations. "Why don't you come around more? Don't you get lonely? When are you going to stop hiding?" Each question an accusation disguised as concern. Online, people who acknowledge enjoying their own company get flooded with armchair diagnoses: depression, trauma, avoidant attachment, social anxiety. The assumption that contentment in solitude must be pathology. Here's what nobody tells you. This isn't isolated concern. This is coordinated enforcement. Society has built entire structures around the idea that humans need constant social engagement, and anyone who contradicts this becomes a problem that needs solving. The punishment escalates systematically. First, they express concern. When that doesn't work, they move to exclusion while claiming it's for your own good. "We stopped inviting you because you never come anyway." The rejection framed as consideration. Psychologists call this social camouflage, when you learn to perform just enough connection to avoid intervention. It's a survival mechanism that develops when the cost of authenticity becomes too high. You show up to enough events to stop the questioning. You post occasionally on social media to prevent the wellness checks. You maintain just enough visible connection to fly under the radar of concern. Not because you want to, not because these interactions fulfill you, but because the alternative is being treated like a problem that needs solving. You learn exactly how much performance is required to keep them at bay. It's exhausting, this constant calculation of how much solitude you can get away with before triggering their intervention protocols. And the truly insidious part? They never realize they've forced you into this performance. They think your occasional appearances mean they were right to be concerned, that their pressure worked, that you're doing better now. They don't see the mask you've learned to wear. They don't recognize that every smile, every "I'm fine," every forced attendance is strategic self-protection. You're not connecting, you're managing their discomfort with your choices. Here's what they're actually doing when they express concern. Testing. Every "Are you okay?" is an audit of your compliance with social norms. They're not checking on your well-being, they're checking whether your aloneness fits into an acceptable category. Because society has created a hierarchy of acceptable solitude. Temporary solitude after a breakup or loss is understandable. Brief solitude for creative work or studying is acceptable. Solitude that ends when you've healed or figured things out is permissible. But choosing solitude as a lifestyle, preferring your own company, not because something's wrong, but because something's right, that's where the concern intensifies into intervention. They're testing whether your aloneness is temporary and therefore manageable, or permanent and therefore threatening. When you make it clear that this is who you are, not what you're going through, that's when the real punishment begins. Because temporary solitude suggests you'll return to the fold once you've processed your pain. Permanent contentment in solitude suggests you've found something better than what they're offering, and they can't accept that possibility without questioning everything about how they've structured their own lives. The language of care becomes a weapon of conformity, and this linguistic shift is crucial to understand. They never frame their discomfort honestly. They don't say, "Your independence makes us uncomfortable because it suggests we might be wasting our lives on connections that don't fulfill us." They say, "We're worried about you." They don't say, "Your contentment in solitude challenges our fundamental beliefs about human nature and social obligation." They say, "This isn't healthy." They don't say, "We need you to be miserable alone so we can feel better about the exhausting social performance we maintain." They say, "Humans aren't meant to be isolated. Every act of control is disguised as an act of care. This disguise is what makes it so effective, so difficult to resist. Because how do you push back against someone who claims they're just concerned? How do you set boundaries with people who insist they're trying to help? The moment you resist their intervention, you've confirmed their suspicions that something's wrong with you. After all, healthy people accept help, right? The framework is rigged. Accept their concern and submit to their control, or reject their concern and prove you're in denial about your problems. And here's where it gets darker, where the true motivation reveals itself beneath the surface concern. This isn't about your well-being at all. It's about their discomfort with what you represent. Your peaceful solitude becomes an accusation they never asked for, a mirror they don't want to look into. Every time you choose yourself over obligation, every time you decline an invitation and show no guilt about it, every time you demonstrate genuine contentment in your own company, you're inadvertently challenging the foundation of their entire social structure. If you can be genuinely content alone, what does that say about their exhausting maintenance of connections that drain them? What does it say about the birthday parties they attend out of obligation, the networking events they force themselves through, the constant availability they maintain because they've been told that's what mature, healthy adults do? Your existence as a content loner suggests all of that might be optional, that the social contract they've signed in blood might actually be negotiable. And that possibility terrifies them, because they've invested everything in the belief that this is just how life works, that humans need constant connection to be healthy and whole. Your peace threatens their entire worldview. Watch how they frame it, and you'll see the control mechanism clearly. Not, "You're different from us and that's fine," but "You're broken and need fixing." Not, "You've made a choice we don't understand or relate to," but "You're in denial about your problems." Not, "You have preferences that differ from ours," but "You're displaying concerning behavior that requires intervention." They pathologize your peace because accepting it as legitimate would require them to question their own lives in ways they're not prepared to handle. It's easier to decide you're damaged than to consider that maybe, just maybe, the constant connection they maintain is more about fear than fulfillment. It's easier to label your solitude as avoidance than to examine whether their social busyness might be the real avoidance, avoiding the discomfort of being alone with themselves, avoiding the questions that arise in silence, avoiding the reality that many of their connections are shallow performances rather than genuine bonds. So they project their discomfort onto you. They take their own fear of aloneness and reframe it as concern for your well-being. They can't tolerate the cognitive dissonance of acknowledging that someone might genuinely prefer what they fear most. The pathologizing is self-protection disguised as care for you. There's a concept researchers call the loneliness epidemic narrative, and understanding this is crucial to seeing how societal control operates through manufactured crisis. Society has convinced itself that isolation is the greatest threat to human health, comparable to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. That's the statistic they love to cite. It's everywhere. News articles, TED Talks, public health campaigns. Loneliness is killing us, they say. We're more disconnected than ever, they claim. But here's what those studies actually show when you look past the headlines. Forced social interaction for people who prefer solitude creates more stress, more cortisol, more health problems than the solitude itself. The research distinguishes between loneliness, the painful feeling of lacking desired connection, and solitude, the chosen state of being alone. But society deliberately conflates the two because the distinction threatens the narrative. They need you to believe that being alone equals being lonely, that solitude equals suffering. Because if people understood that you can be alone without being lonely, content without constant connection, the entire infrastructure built on social obligations starts to crumble. So they weaponize research, cherry-pick statistics, and create a moral panic about isolation that justifies their intervention into your peaceful, chosen solitude. Your refusal to perform connection threatens the entire social contract they depend on, and this is where the punishment becomes systematic rather than personal. If people can opt out of constant social engagement and be genuinely happy, not just surviving but thriving, the obligation disappears, and with it, the entire structure of social expectations collapses. The birthday parties you're supposed to attend even when you don't want to. The networking events you're supposed to value even when they drain you. The constant availability you're supposed to maintain even when it exhausts you. The performative enthusiasm you're supposed to display for other people's company even when you'd rather be alone. All of it becomes optional the moment someone demonstrates that refusing it doesn't lead to misery. You become living proof that the social contract is negotiable, that the rules they've followed religiously might be self-imposed rather than necessary, and that's unacceptable to them. Because if they accept that you can be happy while breaking all the rules they've sacrificed their peace to follow, they have to confront a devastating reality. They've been imprisoning themselves. They've been performing connection out of fear rather than desire. They've been maintaining exhausting relationships because they thought they had to, not because they wanted to. Your freedom exposes their captivity, and they can't forgive you for that. So they punish. Not through obvious cruelty or direct confrontation, that would expose the control mechanism too clearly. Instead, they punish through the slow withdrawal of social acceptance, through mechanisms that maintain plausible deniability about their motives, through the concerned looks that communicate something's wrong with you, that you're not quite right, that your choices are concerning rather than simply different, through the invitations that stop coming while they claim it's because you never wanted to come anyway, framing your exclusion as consideration for your preferences rather than punishment for your nonconformity. Through the relationships that end, not because of any conflict or betrayal, but because you wouldn't perform enough enthusiasm for their company, wouldn't pretend that forced connection fulfilled you, wouldn't fake gratitude for their intrusions into your peace. The punishment is designed to be deniable. They can always claim they were just respecting your boundaries when they excluded you. They can always say they were just concerned when they interrogated you. They can always insist they were just trying to help when they attempted to fix you. But you know the truth. You know the difference between genuine respect for boundaries and punitive exclusion. You know the difference between authentic concern and compliance checking. You know the difference between real help and social control. The punishment is real, even when they deny it's happening. This is surveillance disguised as care, and recognizing this reframe is essential to maintaining your sanity in the face of their relentless intervention. Every wellness check is a compliance check. They're not checking whether you're well, they're checking whether you're conforming. Every expression of concern is a test of whether you're still controllable through guilt, whether they can still manipulate you into doubting your own choices. Every intervention is an attempt to bring you back in line with social expectations, to reinstall the programming you've managed to delete. They've weaponized worry itself, turned compassion into a tool of enforcement. And it works brilliantly because who wants to be the person who rejects concern? Who wants to be ungrateful for care? The genius of this system is that resistance to the surveillance proves you need the surveillance. Push back against their constant checking, and you've demonstrated you're defensive, resistant to help, possibly in worse shape than they thought. Accept their concern and submit to their intervention attempts, or reject their concern and confirm their worst suspicions about your mental state. There's no winning move within their framework. The only way out is to reject the framework entirely, to stop caring whether they think you're okay, to stop performing wellness for their comfort, to accept that they will interpret your peaceful solitude as concerning no matter what you do. So if you're someone who chooses solitude, who consistently declines the endless invitations to perform social engagement, who finds genuine peace in your own company rather than viewing alone time as something to be tolerated until the next social obligation, know this: the punishment will continue. It doesn't end when you've proven yourself enough times. It doesn't stop when you've demonstrated that you're genuinely content. Society won't stop pathologizing your choice just because you keep showing them you're fine. People will keep framing your boundaries as dysfunction, keep suggesting therapy for your preference for solitude, keep excluding you while claiming it's for your own good, all while exhausting themselves maintaining connections that don't fulfill them, but that they've been told they must maintain. The concern trolling will persist. The wellness checks will keep coming. The interrogations about why you don't participate more will never fully stop, because your contentment in solitude will always threaten their investment in constant connection. Your peace will always expose the chaos they've normalized. Your refusal to apologize for your preferences will always challenge their guilt-driven social performance. There is no amount of proof that will satisfy them, because this was never actually about evidence of your well-being. It was always about protecting their worldview from the challenge you represent. But your solitude, your comfort in your own company, your refusal to perform constant availability, that's not pathology, that's freedom. And freedom always threatens systems built on everyone's captivity. They punish you because your contentment reveals their emptiness. Your peace exposes the chaos they've mistaken for normal social life. Your refusal to perform availability shows them what they've been too afraid to choose, what they've convinced themselves is impossible or unhealthy. You're living proof that the prison they're in has no lock, that the obligations they shoulder are self-imposed, that the exhausting social performance they maintain is optional. And that's unforgivable to people who've sacrificed their peace for conformity. Stay free, not because it's comfortable. The judgment is real and persistent. The exclusion hurts. The constant questioning of your choices wears you down. Stay free because you've discovered what most people spend their entire lives avoiding: that you are enough alone, that your own company isn't something to be tolerated, but something to be treasured, that peace doesn't require constant connection to validate it. No amount of forced connection can compete with that truth. No amount of their concern can touch the reality you found. They can pathologize your solitude, exclude you while claiming concern, interrogate your choices until they're exhausted, but they can't take away what you know about yourself: that you're whole, that you're content, that you're free in ways they can't understand, because they're still locked in the belief that humans need constant external validation to be okay. Stay free, not in spite of the punishment, but because you've tasted genuine peace, and that's worth more than their acceptance ever could be.